Armin has a new article in Queer Majority. Armin, please bring it forth. It is titled Pride Flags, Kid Gloves, and Islam's Religious Right. Armin, give us a breakdown of this article. What are you talking about in this article?
Well, I don't want to give too much of a breakdown because I
Of
want people to
course.
go read the article, right? Can you link it in the chat for people? But you know how we keep talking about trying to come up with a balance of addressing the fact that Islam is becoming, as we predicted, becoming more and more um, an issue in Western countries, and there a lot of people don't seem to be equipped with not just the right tools but the right narratives to address this. Right, we are a lot of people are on the right are addressing this as an anti-Muslim thing, and many people on the left are now being introduced to ways to address these conservative ideology having a major impact in Western countries without trying to be anti-Muslim or anti-immigrant. So I thought, given that we have been talking about this for years and years, I would be able to give a good perspective on how I think these conversations can be, what narratives are the most useful to see this as a problem, to show that this is a problem, come up with examples for people, stories that are happening for people to see that if you are fighting Christian conservatism, then with that same mindset, you should be fighting Islamic conservatism. And it's coming for all the values and ideals and goals that you would have as a leftist or as a liberal. All the things that you are fighting for is in contradiction to Islamic values, and you should be standing guard against that as well, not just against Christianity. But again, I do understand the concern a lot of people have that this might turn into demonizing certain groups of people, and for people to take advantage of this and trying to make this into an anti-immigration thing. And I come up with solutions, at least a beginning, a way to talk about solutions that I think would be helpful, which is not only not anti-minority or anti-immigrant, it actually is a way to tackle these issues, and that is even pro-minority and pro-immigrant. So if you want to see what my suggestion, so I go through the issue and I go through some examples. I give 3 examples, but I also come up with solutions at the end where I think it's the best way to talk about these things. So it's not just addressing a problem, it's mentioning a problem, it's also trying to come up with solutions at the end as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you specifically talk about the issue that happened in Hamtramck, Michigan, which is like one of the first
Yes.
Muslim majority cities in America. And it recently banned pride flags on public property,
Yes. Yes.
among a few other kinds of flags. And
Right.
the backlash that happened because of that, because when this Muslim all Muslim city council was elected, all the people were like, "Wow, look at America, we're so progressive, blah blah blah." Like we, look at this is a stand against quote unquote Islamophobia, because we elected this all Muslim city council, and then what, like 8 years later, then pride flags are banned on public property of because of the Muslim city council, and the betrayal that a lot of people felt because of that. Um, so did you see? I think you saw that little short video that I sent you recently of what it's actually like in Hamtramck. That
Yeah.
short.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. I've seen. That's crazy. Yes.
So
Yes.
in this
Yes.
video, someone
Yeah.
went to Hamtramck to go talk to residents about this, and they go talk to this group of like Muslim teenagers that go around and steal and destroy pride flags on people's private property, and also start egging houses that show support for these things. And there was this really, really old, like white American couple going out to yell at these teenagers to tell them that in this country you're free to be that way and all this stuff. What was your reaction to seeing that video? Because that was a very startling video for me to watch.
Yeah, and I think it's a sign of more things to come. And I think a video like that would get more attention if it was like a bunch of white nationalists doing that. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people are afraid of sharing that because they might think like this is going to spread hate against entire Muslims. I mean, but the thing is, like, if a groups of white nationalists were doing that, like would you not share it because you would think that this is going to spread hate against like white people as a whole? You know what I mean?
No.
Like, it is a
In
problem that
fact,
needs to be
left-leaning
addressed. Would you?
people often say that when they do see these kinds of activities from white nationalists, they say that this is actually all white people and deep down.
Well, that's, I mean, it's stupid in from both, in both direct. If you think like this is all Muslims, that's insane. And if you think
Yeah.
this is like represents white people, it's almost as insane. Like, we do understand that in the United States, on average, Muslims are more left leaning or liberal because of the support that they got from, because they're minority. So the way it worked is, unlike many other countries, on average, Muslims in the United States are more tolerant of ideas like this because, very early on, um, p- parties and institutions that were more left leaning provided support to these groups because they were minorities and because they were taking a position against more right leaning, um, institutions and parties, right? So because of this support, a lot of these institutions got connected with each other. And because of the mutual benefit that they got from supporting each other, a lot of the values of leftist and liberal values started, having a major impact on Islamic institutions and groups and activists. However, because of the nature of Islam, what we said for a long time is that this is going to, at some point, you're going to see the conservative nature of Islam show itself more and more within the Western world. And even, and I'm not saying it's going to be all of them or it's going to take over, but it will. This is Islam as we're talking about, so it will eventually show itself, and we are now seeing that happen, especially when it gets to LGBT stuff. Especially when it get, like, you could see the first signs of that happening. Like, I mean, you're going to see it everywhere at some point. It's misogynistic, it's bigoted, it's intolerant, it's violent, but we predicted that it will, the first place you will see that more being more pronounced than anywhere else will be LGBT, and that's now that's
Mhm.
happening. So
Mhm.
it's important for us to start advocating the proper way of having a conversation about this early on. So, because we can't let right leaning bigoted people steal this conversation from us, because it's not going to help. It's not going to
It's gonna
help.
be a disaster.
Yeah, it's going to be a disaster. So we have to be able to steal this conversation from them so that we could have it in a healthier and more productive way.
Yeah, oxymoron is saying Muslim integration in the US has been successful, unlike in the case of Europe. And it has been overwhelmingly more successful because Muslims are not ghettoized in the same way that they are in a place such as France. France has it
Exactly.
the worst in terms of the ghettoiz maybe not the worst, but they have it really bad in terms of the ghettoization and the seclusion, right? And it's this is exactly why it comes as no surprise to me that the first place we see this kind of activity happen in the US is in a Muslim majority city.
Yes. Yes.
It
You,
it's
you,
exactly the same model happening again. But there's nothing that we can do to like, I don't know, explicitly prevent that because we don't have a country like Singapore where we force people to be desegregated, right? People have in my country the freedom to live like, amongst whatever kind of people they want. Well, there's been redlining historically. There's been cases where that's not true. But my government can't come and say you have too many Muslims in this city. You have to not live here. Is what I'm trying to say.
this is why people don't understand when you talk about diversity. All right, diversity makes sense if it's actual diversity. Okay, like, it will actually. So if Muslims are living side by side other people, this is what actual diversity looks like and works. But you don't have diversity when certain groups of people come in your country and they have their own areas, because it's not diverse if they're living in one section and then they're living in a different section, because if you go to that area, you see they are by themselves. So how is it diverse? So when some right-wing people are anti-diversity and they say diversity doesn't work, well, what doesn't work is something that is named diversity, but it's not actually diversity if everybody is living in their own areas. The type of diversity that works is when people are being exposed to each other so much that it's hard to be intolerant of each other. Like we have seen that being exposed to other people on a daily basis, on a regular basis, actually does improve tolerance. If
It's
you,
literally how
yeah,
our brains work. There are so many studies about this. I studied this in college. It's literally how our brains work. If you are
yeah,
familiar with something, you're less likely to be scared of it. This is how our brains work from infancy. Infancy. If we are not familiar with it, we will be scared of it, more scared of it. We're more likely to outcast it. We're more likely to think that harm against it is fine. Even children exhibit this behavior before they're even verbal, right? So this is part of our nature.
exactly. And this works both ways because a lot of left-leaning people talk about this, but they keep only talking about how, for example, black people, white people need to see black people to be tolerant of them, or see Muslims to be tolerant of them, or to be trans people to be tolerant of them. But when it comes to Muslims, you have to understand this works the other way around as well. So Muslim communities are less likely to be radicalized if they are exposed to non-Islamic communities, if they go to work with non-Muslims, if they go to school with non-Muslims, if they shop with non-Muslims, if they go watch movies and celebrate and party with non-Muslims, right? So it's not just about the wider community seeing Muslims and being less terrified with them. It's also about Muslims seeing, being exposed to non-Muslim communities and being less hostile to them, right? So
Yes. So
yeah,
everyone,
but yeah,
please go read
yeah,
Armin's article in Queer Majority. The link is in the live chat, and also it's in the description as well at the very bottom. Um,
yeah.
and Eric Olson is saying, congratulations. Young Atheist is saying, thanks, Armin. Your work always inspires me. And Newman gave a super chat and said, I read your last article and it was nice. Proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you for all the support. That gives me a lot of motivation. Thank you.
And lastly, before I forget, Gasian American gave us a super chat saying, if God is a
Thank you.
figment of your imagination, was it really God or yourself?
Part of yourself. Yeah. I
Something to
actually
think
think about that. I actually think about that every time I have a dream. Like there are certain rich characters with personalities in my dream, like very rich personality and attitudes. And when I wake up, I'm like, that person was part of me because that person doesn't have any, like I'm amazed that my brain created something with such a rich character. I'm like, I didn't know my brain could do that. I don't know. I'm talking too much. I don't know if you understand.
about.
Also, I know, and this is irrelevant. I'm just gonna make it. Any author that writes a story like Game of Thrones or like whatever, Lord of the Rings, all those characters are part of him. So it's so
Mhm.
amazing to me that all those different characters from with different personalities are part of someone's imagination. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about this
No,
more.
it is. It
People get
is.
away.
It's so
Yeah,
rich, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. So see, people. Some people are get. Yeah, people think, yeah, yeah, they're like, dude, same, hard relate, hard relate right now, Armin. I have that. It's so cool. Okay, some people understand what I'm talking about. Okay, thank you. Okay, okay. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Guys, do not leave without liking the stream. You have to. You know, this I say on the Persian show. I don't know if you understand this if I say it here. This show would be haram for you if you have not liked it. Okay, so I will, this basically means that we produce this content, and if you do not like it, that we will not make the show halal for you. That means in the afterlife,
Mm.
on judgment day, I could come and, tell God that this person consumed our content without liking the video, right? And you have to pay the price for it. So
Mm.
if you want this show to become halal for you, you have to like the video. However, this part is not necessary, but it will very much help. Actually, it is necessary. After the stream is over, also leave a comment, okay? Because it doesn't cost you anything. Leave a comment under the show. That will really help us grow the channel. So please do that. We spent 3 hours for you. You could spend less than a minute liking the video and leaving a comment. So please do that. And also subscribe, hit the bell notification, and tell people that this is a valuable channel that they need to subscribe to. Go tell everybody. Okay, thank you. Unless it's not safe for you, don't do that then.
We have fun, we hang out, and we're on the road to 40K, guys. Soon we will hit the 40K landmark, our milestone. So help us get to 40K. Subscribe.
Make it happen, guys. Thank you.
If you have
All right,
side
guys.
channels, subscribe.
Yes. All right, guys. Bye. Mwah.